on the final game to be played here at Memorial Stadium. At halftime, Jim Donovan along with James Lofton. The Baltimore Ravens lead over Tennessee 14-6. We take a look at the Coors Light halftime stats from the first half of play. And what those stats will show you is that the turnover is really a big factor in this ball game. 3 on the side of the Oilers. They turn it over 3 times, and the Ravens turn it over on their last play of the half, James.
Yeah, but Tennessee has been able to run the football, and if they stick with that, they can get something going here in the second half. They're only down by 8 points. Steve McNair hasn't had a lot of time to throw the football, but Eddie George has had holes to run through.
Michael Jackson fumbled at the 1-yard line. He went through the end zone and out on the last offensive play of the half. He's playing with a torn bicep muscle that could have affected that as Rodney Thomas keeps that kickoff right in the end zone. They'll bring it out to the 20-yard line. But that really was a critical play because he would have been at the 1-yard line, and James probably could have taken it in for a touchdown, and so they would have been looking at a 21-6 halftime lead.
Yeah, but the thing that I have a hard time figuring out is Michael Jackson, who is left-handed, has the ball in his left arm and then decides to move it to his right arm. And that's where the torn biceps is. So it's baffling to me, but obviously he knows what he's doing because he's down there. You know, I never tried to run over anybody, so I didn't have that problem.
Big sigh of relief for the Oilers, though, to get out of that one. And now trying to battle back here, trailing 14-6, starting at their own 20-yard line. Eddie George, who walked out of the game in the second quarter with a little injury, is back in and in the backfield. And on the right side of the offensive line, it looked like Frank Wycheck left early, and that will cost the Oilers 5.
Offense, 5 yards, first down.
Early in the game, James, Steve McNair had the Ravens jumping across, but the last couple of times, it's been his own team.
Yeah, and you know, late in the season, you don't have a lot to play for. Mentally, you'll get beat before you will physically.
Steve McNair, first half, 5 out of 12, just 47 yards. He threw an interception. Now they're back at the 15, and it's 1st and 15. McNair throwing, a lot of time, stretching out at the 32-yard line to try and pull it in as Chris Sanders, but it's incomplete.
And McNair had time to throw the football there. You know, we talked about accuracy. When you have people open, you really do need to be able to stick the ball in what I call the framework of their body, from their waist to right below the neck. You throw the ball there, you're going to have a good chance of completing a lot of passes. Sure, you'd like your receivers to be able to come up with plays and make plays when they're stretched out. But on easy throws, when you have guys open, you really need to be accurate.
2nd down and 15. A lot of time for McNair. Larry Webster couldn't get him. There's a flag on the play. It's intercepted by Deron Jenkins. He's down at the 16-yard line. Again, a flag down in the secondary. And it's coming back. It's against the Ravens.
Illegal contact, number 52, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And if I am Marvin Lewis, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, I'm furious on the sideline because they had made Steve McNair break the pocket. And once that guy breaks the pocket, all rules are off. The illegal contact, holding, grabbing, you can maul those receivers downfield. And he had broken the pocket.
I didn't really see too much contact there when he was on his coverage there. Well, that not only gives him the ball back, but it gives him a first down. And the ball is at the 20-yard line. Tennessee on first down. McNair throwing, and he connects this time with Chris Sanders. That looked like the same route on the first play of the third quarter when they incompleted pass to Sanders, but he gets that one out to the 30 and near another Oiler first down.
You know what the Ravens do not want to do, they don't want Steve McNair to get in a rhythm. When he goes back in that pocket where he feels comfortable, where he's able to bounce and throw, that time a 4-man rush, Boulware was the only guy who was even putting a little bit of pressure on him. Because they have so many starters missing from that front, I would really expect them to mix it up, bring more of the linebackers, try and get in Steve's face.
On first down, Eddie George. Maybe a yard to the 31. Mike Frederick is in on the tackle for the Ravens. George has had 88 yards rushing, most of them on 2 long runs today, and on both of those long runs, the Ravens were offside on the play, and he just went right through the middle and up into the secondary.
And you have to kind of tip your hat to Keith Washington, Larry Webster, and Mike Frederick. Guys who aren't normally in the lineup on that defensive line have done a pretty good job up front.
Play action to George. McNair running out of time, throws it away as he threw it down low and incomplete. Chris Ward, 95, now a defensive lineman in there for the Ravens, got good pressure on McNair. All of a sudden, McNair looked down, and Ward was right there on his feet.
Yeah, but what I don't like what I saw downfield. I saw 2 wide receivers, didn't see a tight end out, no running back in the pattern. You know, they expect that play action to work. Play action only works if the running back is really piercing you. And you mentioned George has had 2 big runs, and both have come when they've been offsides and kind of disjointed defensively. But for the most part, those guys up front, the no-name guys, and Ward has added in there, they've done a good job in stopping the Oilers.
Timeout, Tennessee, and we'll be coming back right after this.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Acura, the true definition of luxury. Yours. By Warner Brothers, The Postman, starting Thursday, December 25th. By Miller Lite, now official beer sponsor of the NFL. And by Texaco, a world of energy.
Back at Memorial Stadium, third quarter. Steve McNair called timeout, setting up a 3rd down at 7 as he wanted to make sure he had the right play called. So Tennessee will have 2 timeouts left. Quarterback breakdown, McNair versus Zeier today. 6 for 15, 9 for 17 passing. Zeier got very hot at the end of the first half, and he's thrown for 2 touchdowns. 3rd and 7 for Tennessee. A screen pass set up in the middle. Caught by Michael Rowe. Or rather, Wycheck. Wycheck brings it out to the 50-yard line. Frank Wycheck out near midfield. 16 yards on the play and a 1st down.
A nice job by Steve McNair. He takes his initial drop, watch him in the pocket, 5 steps, and then lets the defense sift towards you. You know, Bullware comes around on his stunt, and he figures, I've got this guy. All I have to do is run him down. But the defensive line, he always gets suckered in, and the quarterback has to do a good job of acting.
Looks like that timeout worked. They called the timeout, went over, talked it over, got the good play, and the pass catch by Wycheck gets them a 1st down out near midfield. Eddie George is wrapped up immediately. Chasing him down the line of scrimmage is Larry Webster.
You know, invariably, we talked about, you know, we spoke with Kevin Donnelly. You know, we passed along the word that Saragusa wasn't going to play. Well, when you watch James Jones on defense, you watch Tony Saragusa, Michael McCrary, Rob Bennett, you watch those guys on film, those are the guys you're going to play against. And you figure out their tendencies, and you worry about them, you stay up late, and all of a sudden they bring in some new guys. You don't know what these guys are going to do, and it makes it tough.
Eddie George lost a yard on that last play. 2nd down and 11. McNair throws, and Chris Sanders gets his hands up there and makes the catch out by the 35-yard line of Baltimore. 16 yards and a 1st down.
And Marvin Lewis is very frustrated because all of his guys stopped on that play. It was kind of a quick snap. They had what they thought they had Baltimore offside. They didn't. They snapped the ball early. Stepnowski does. But Steve McNair shows us his arm here. I mean, that's a rope. And from this series, we've seen that when they went in at halftime, they said, we can work on Deron Jenkins. He's given a lot of cushion, thrown 3 outs on that side. 2 have been completed.
1st down now at the Baltimore 35-yard line. Wycheck in motion. Eddie George running. And pushes the pile down near the 32-yard line. As you saw the scores go by, the Miami-Indianapolis game, 34-0. Indianapolis leads. Miami gave up 31 points in the 2nd quarter of that game, the largest amount in franchise history.
Well, it was 25 years ago that they had the undefeated team, right? What they did is they let that undefeated team, the 72 team, those old guys actually go up there and play against the Indianapolis Colts. That's the only thing I can figure out.
2nd down and 8. George got a tough 2 yards on 1st down as Chris Sanders comes in motion. McNair firing. He's got a man wide open, and it's Sanders. And Sanders steps out inside the 15-yard line. Kim Herring comes over on the coverage. Good for 19 yards. And you were wondering, where's Chris Sanders? And he's appearing.
Yeah, but I think running Eddie George on first down for 2 and 3 yards is like a boxer throwing out that left jab. You jab, jab, jab. And now Steve McNair is coming in with that overhand right to knock you out. And he's had 3 nice down-the-field completions. And Chris Sanders, we mentioned, has a lot of speed, and he can set guys up and really back them up. This is where they need to punch it in, find a way. This is where a big physical receiver would help out a lot.
Michael Rohn is in the backfield with Eddie George, who gets the ball. George cuts to the outside, inside the 10, and brought down near the 8-yard line. Deron Jenkins makes the tackle of Eddie George, who gets up, thinking he might have had a little alley to get something more out of it. And Deron Jenkins is getting up slowly after bringing George down.
And you see Chris Sanders is supposed to block him, but that run was supposed to go to the other side, and it is the right knee of Eddie George to the head of Deron Jenkins. And been around a lot. A knee to a head is one of the things where guys will get up, they'll be groggy, and Jenkins is from that old school. A lot of times a guy will get nicked up, he'll just lay down, relax, catch a little sun. Jenkins tries to get up on his feet the best that he doesn't want to get counted out. You know, they got to the 8 count and he staggered up. You know, if I'm the referee, I stopped the bout right there, but he's going to walk off and come back later.
Well, speaking of a tough guy, next Saturday at 4 Eastern, it's the Ironman Triathlon. The ultimate test of endurance. Some of the best athletes in the world compete in a race that includes swimming, biking, then running a marathon in the Hawaiian heat. Just finishing is amazing. So it's the Ironman Triathlon next Saturday here on NBC.
I do my own Ironman almost every morning. I shower, and then I walk out and get the newspaper, and then I sit down in my chair.
2nd and 5. For Tennessee, trailing 14-6. They're at the Baltimore 8. Eddie George gets to the 5-yard line and gets pushed back. That's Ralph Staten coming up from the safety spot.
Gain of 3 on the play.
He got 3, and they'll be 2 shy of the first down.
You know, when you look at this Raven defense, it is well stocked for the future. Everybody knows that Bullware, you know, 1 sack away from tying the record. Jamie Sharper, the other linebacker. Then you go to Kim Herring. And Ralph Staten has really jumped out at her. He's the 7th-round pick, but he's the Ravens' 3rd pick in the 7th round. You know, they're just sitting there going, well, we got another pick. So who do we pick up? And this guy, from what I've seen today and seen on film last week, really looks like a player.
This is the 13th play of the drive on 3rd and 2. Eddie George, no, keeping it. McNair, and he slides down to the 2-yard line and should have a first down. The Ravens claiming Johnny Brady out with the ball, that McNair fumbled, but the officials rule him down. At that 2-yard line where they're standing, he should have it 1st and goal. What a nice fake there to George.
Yeah, a very nice fake. Such a good fake. It looked like it almost surprised Eddie George as if he was going to get the ball. But I'm surprised that Steve McNair slides, because when he starts to slide, he's supposed to be down there. That's the 3-yard line. They mark this ball at the 2-yard line. It is supposed to be where the slide starts. You see the guys come in and hit him. And you know, I think the officials were surprised that he slid, because when you slide, you're also supposed to be protected from the tacklers.
Well, they'll bring the chains in to make sure if he has the first down. From that spot there, he should have it by a yard. I mean, the spot was the 3, and it's at the 2. They've gone 78 yards on this drive. The Oilers trailing 14-6. Jeff Fisher trying to hold this one out here this afternoon, and then trying to get it going after that next week when they take on Pittsburgh and end 9-7. But there's a lot of work to be done here. 64, Eric Norgaard, who caught a touchdown pass this season against Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, is eligible now. 64, 1st and goal. Eddie George pushes down there in the end zone. No signal yet. He's not in. 2nd down.
If he's not in, he's about as close as he can get in. You know, you get a good push. Mentioned Norgaard there at the end of the line, and just bodies pushing against bodies, and you have Eddie George. You make one cut. There's not time to dip left, dip right. You make one cut, you try and get those shoulders square upfield and get across the plane of the end zone.
Michael Rohn is the blocking back in the backfield with Eddie George on 2nd and goal. McNair to Eddie George, didn't get it. In fact, he probably lost a yard. Ray Lewis again with a big defensive play.
I mean, it shouldn't surprise us, but in a way it does surprise me. Ray Lewis, at the combine, everyone wanted him to be taller. He listed himself at 6'2" when he was coming out of college. I talked to Bill Parcells about it. I said, what do you think of Ray Lewis? He said, well, he could be taller, but it wouldn't make him any better of a football player. He's only 6 feet tall. And I actually think that leverage he has allows him to be a better player than if he were 6'4" or 6'5", trying to play in the middle.
So they're at the 2 on 3rd and goal. McNair rolling around in trouble. Pumps one in there. It's incomplete. He was looking for Wycheck, who's looking for a flag, but he won't get one. It's 4th down.
Yeah, and I don't think he should ever win that argument along the goal line where it is physical. You're only a yard down the line of scrimmage.
On 4th down, we do not see the field goal team coming in yet. And in fact, they're not coming in. They're staying on with the offense and go for it on 4th down.
And when you bring in the wide receivers, I wouldn't expect to see a pass here. But what you're trying to do, spread the defense out. You either use Eddie George on the draw or you use Steve McNair, who's your second best runner on the draw.
4th and goal, timeout, Baltimore. The Ravens turn around and they call the timeout.
Now, Baltimore. That is their first.
So we'll be back with 4th and goal from the 2 here at Memorial Stadium. Marvin Lewis on the sideline, defensive coordinator. There's your score, Baltimore over Tennessee, 14-6. 4th and goal from the 2. Oilers going for it. McNair rolling near side. Throws, it's deflected, incomplete. Ravens hold. Big defensive stand by the Ravens. You're watching the NFL on NBC.
I like trying to give Steve McNair the run-pass option. What I don't like is limiting him to the short side of the football field because you play into the Ravens' hands. And Keith Washington does a great job in elevating and blocking that pass.
First down from their own 2-yard line. And the Ravens stay on the ground with it, and they get nothing as the Oilers stack it up defensively. This is Baltimore's first possession of the second half. Tennessee, this ball game, look at the way this has gone for them. 16 plays, they get a field goal. 17 plays here in the 3rd quarter, and they get nothing. That's discouraging for Steve McNair. His team still down by 8. Eric Zeier to Van Morris. Morris rubs off one tackle and gets out over the 5-yard line. Brought down on the play by Henry Ford. It will be 3rd down.
Yeah, you saw the determination at the end of the run from Van Morris. And two guys come up to hit him. They both slide by. He remains on his feet. I'd done the boxing analogy once, but he was stunned there for a second, and he realized, I'm still standing. I need to just fall forward a little bit here.
I can never get enough of the boxing analogies.
I watched boxing last night.
3rd down and 4. Zeier to Derrick Alexander. Incomplete. He was open at the 14-yard line, and so it's 4th down. They'll punt from their own end zone. The NFL season extends to the World Wide Web on NFL.com, the league's official website. Visit NFL.com for all of the scores and stats, including a complete roundup of this weekend's scores in action, plus chat live with some of the NFL's biggest stars. It's all at NFL.com. Derek Mason has returned after getting injured in the first half on a punt return. Montgomery hits a line drive. He had a mild concussion in the first half, and now he's back. Takes the punt back into Raven territory at the 49-yard line. And that's where Tennessee will start, still trailing by 8 points. here at Memorial Stadium. You're watching the NFL on NBC. 4:49 to go, third quarter. The Oilers down by 8. Eddie George in the first quarter ran 8 times for 70 yards. But since then, it's been a very quiet day, although it got a little better for him on that last drive down the field, but it didn't end well. No points. They're right at the 50-yard line. First down. Play action fake. Frederick. McNair got away from him. And he dumps the ball off, and it's caught up near a first down. Frank Wycheck brings it near the stick of the first down out at the 41.
And the ability to turn a negative into a positive is what Steve McNair has. And Frederick, clean shot on him. McNair steps out of the grass and is quick enough to be able to deliver the ball and deliver it with some touch. And you also have to know where your outlet guys are. I mean, you've been flushed, you spun around, and you know where your safety blanket is.
Well, it's second and very short. And Eddie George will get the first down and a lot more. He gets down to the 31 of Baltimore.
10 yards.
Jamie Sharper teams up with Kim Herring. On the tackle, another Raven is down on the field. Back at the 40-yard line. And that's Larry Webster. And they are going to flat run out a defensive lineman.
And if they do get short on defensive linemen, what they do is they move Peter Boulware, who played down when he was in college in a three-point stance his whole career. They move him to defensive end and just let him come after the passer and try and shut down the run with his quickness.
Well, last night, Eddie George remembers what it was like when he was at the Downtown Athletic Club. Last night, Charles Woodson of Michigan won the Heisman Trophy. But back in 1986, Vinny Testaverde, then of the University of Miami, he was the winner of the very, very deserved trophy. In 95, Eddie George, an Ohio State Buckeye, now wearing an Oilers uniform, rushed to victory in the Heisman voting. But last night, it was on the defensive side of the ball as Charles Woodson outpointed Peyton Manning to win it.
But you know, you look at that, you watch it on television, the Downtown Athletic Club. You see all those paintings of the great players. And the thing I would worry about it if I had ever won it was, would they put a good picture of me up? And I asked Eddie, I said, you know, have you gone back, you've seen your painting? He said, yes, I saw it. I said, but when I went back, they had Rashawn Salam's name under my painting. You know, they move the paintings around a lot. And they had the wrong name. I guess he corrected them now.
First down, Tennessee. As Webster left the field, a little delay to Eddie George, runs it down inside the 30 and in fact inside the 25. And maybe this is what you were talking about. Now late stages, second half, getting near the fourth quarter, he's been pounding on you all game long.
Yeah, and it was interesting that, you know, we're sitting up here 18 minutes to go in the ball game. We think he's had a quiet day. Well, he has 21 carries, 116 yards. If that's quiet, I'd hate to hear him start getting loud out there.
Second and 3. Again, the delay. But they're there to stop it. James Jones got him by the ankles, and Keith Washington then helped him out with Ray Lewis.
It is a situation whereas a defense where you are the defensive coordinator, Marvin Lewis, you basically pick your poison. And when you put 7, 8 guys up around the line of scrimmage, you tell the Oilers, we're not going to let Eddie George beat us. We're going to make Steve McNair earn it. We're going to cover your receivers one-on-one down the football field, but we're not going to give Eddie George the lanes to run through.
Larry Webster checks back in on the defensive line for Baltimore on 3rd down and 2. They'll let Eddie George try and get it for them, and I think he did as he buries his head and then swings around and dives over the 20-yard line. First down, Tennessee, and the drive continues.
Yeah, you see the guys up around the line of scrimmage, but from your right, Peter Boulware has snuck back in from the left of the camera. Peter Boulware has snuck back into the picture, so Steve McNair alertly calls the run away from Boulware.
First down, Tennessee. The ball just inside the Raven 20-yard line. throws for Chris Sanders and hits him right on the 81, down to the 10-yard line, up near a first down again.
We talked about Sanders, and it's well documented that this guy walks, runs, even sleeps on the tip of his toes. It's very quick. He's not a big frame guy, but we've seen a willingness to go inside and make the tough catch today.
He has 5 catches today for 70 yards. Close to a first down. Let's see. Did they get it? Well, they are right there. They're about a length shy.
Gain of 9.
Well, James, you know, the 2 times they've been down really deep in the red zone, they've gotten a field goal out of it. They didn't get any points the last time. But now here they are, second down and just a couple of inches to get a first down. Would you give a shot into the end zone because you have a little bit more room here?
Well,
knowing that on third and a couple of inches
I would still want to establish the run here, and I give Eddie George a chance to maybe pop one here. And I run at the area that has been vacated by Tony Saragusa, right over my left guard, Bruce Matthews.
5th in red zone scoring coming in, but nothing today as McNair with a flag down dives over the right side. That would give them the first down, but let's see the call.
Prior to the snap,
Oh, boy.
false start, right guard. 5-yard penalty. They keep it down, second down.
It's Kevin Donnelly, the right guard, who gets flagged for the movement there. And I think that there's just so much movement along the defensive front from the Ravens. You know, it has to be awfully tough. You're down in that 3-point stance. You're listening to your quarterback bark out the signals, and here come these big, ugly guys creeping up at you. You know, hard to hold your composure.
Second down and 6. McNair, way over the head of Derrick Mason. He was standing at about the 6-yard line with Deron Jenkins guarding him.
Yeah, but Frank Wycheck is standing at the 10-yard line, and he had been lost in the coverage. There was no one around him. The only guy around him was the guy who was covering Derrick Mason. But, you know, once again, we talked earlier, you know, we're going to try and blitz them in pass situations. That's the word that we got from Marvin Lewis, the defensive coordinator. And they're in a pass situation right here. This is not a run situation, so I would expect them to come after Steve McNair again. But you also need a spy to keep him from scrambling for a first down or a touchdown.
On 3rd and 6, McNair running. Nice move inside the 10 to the 5. Dives for the touchdown. What a run by Steve McNair.
And you talk about good calls offensively. That's a poor call on the defense for not having a guy to account for Steve McNair. And when you look at the stats coming into the ballgame, a guy who's rushed for over 500 yards, 6 yards a carry, and he is the next most dangerous weapon on the ground after Eddie George in this lineup. And you have to have a guy who's going to be accounted for.
The Oilers are going to go for 2 as they come up to the line of scrimmage to try and tie the game. They are down 14-12. And they put Eddie George in motion. And he fumbled the snap but got it back. But McNair spins and fights and gets down close but did not get in. They'll remain 2 down. They fumbled the snap on the 2-point conversion but tighten it up. 14-12 Ravens.
You know, you can fool me the first time by running Steve McNair up the middle, but you cannot fool me the second time. They load up the middle. In addition to that, Steve McNair fumbles the snap, and then he fumbles the second time. So you have a 2-point conversion and 2 fumbles on the play.
But they did get the touchdown thanks to a great run by McNair. And the third quarter has been Tennessee's quarter. Time of possession, they've had it 13 minutes, 4 seconds, and they have 6 points to show for it. It's 14-12. Del Greco kicks off. Jermaine Lewis runs underneath it at the 12-yard line. And he is to the 40. To the Tennessee 40. To the Tennessee him down. 60 yards.
You know, last week, Jermaine Lewis had 2 punt returns for a touchdown. He had a touchdown reception. But we asked him about it, and we said, you know, people forget that I've also had a couple of kicks called back this year, a kickoff return and a touchdown reception called back.
There's the return of 89 yards. Then 66 yards followed that. They came in the same quarter. He pushes Benny Thompson to get that last block, and then high struts it in for the touchdown. And now he returns this kickoff 60 yards, and they are at the Tennessee 38-yard line, first down. And they had to beckon Jermaine Lewis to get into the lineup on this pass play. On first down, and then they throw it to him, and he's got it at the 30, up near a first down at the 28, down near the 27. Not happy is Jeff Fisher on the sideline. It's a first down for the Ravens at the 27-yard line, as the third quarter has come to an end here at Memorial Stadium. We get set for the fourth quarter. Baltimore leading 14-12. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.